Do 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 do. Hi, crystal balls. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. If this is your first time here, welcome. Please think about sticking around, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And if everybody could take a moment, just one moment, to click that like button right now, that would be amazing. I don't want to be lost in YouTube algorithm, and that has been happening a lot lately. So if you guys could just take a moment and click that like button, that would be amazing. And thank you so much. I also want to thank you for being patient with me as I've gone through some personal things, and also a big thank you to my Patreons. So today we are going to talk about queer characters from The Simpsons. Before we get started, I do want to talk about audible.com. So audible.com is a very awesome platform that you can try out with a free trial and get 1 credit. You can use that credit for anything in their library. While you're enjoying your free trial, you can also take advantage of everything that Audible has to offer, and that includes many countless different podcasts and exclusive books just for Audible only. Now, y'all know I'm a huge Neil Gaiman fan, so of course I'm going to say try The Sandman. That is going to be coming out on Netflix later in August, which I'm really excited about. I'm a huge Neil Gaiman fan. There also are Audible only books from Neil Gaiman in the collection, so I definitely recommend trying that out. That won't be part of your credit. That is something, you can choose your credit for anything else. Sandman, just recommend The Sandman. But as far as the originals, those are part of the platform. There are music series, there are history books, there are amazing things here that are just exclusive for Audible. I highly recommend that you try it out. Look down at the description box and take a look. Try Audible out for yourself, see how you like it, and if you cancel, guess what? You get to keep your book. You can use it on pretty much any platform, and trust me, this is great if you are busy, or you're like me, you work a couple jobs and you're a student and you're dyslexic. Trust me, it's very helpful. So try it out. No obligation, free trial. Take a look down at the description box and get your free Audible book. All right, so we are going back to The Simpsons and talking about some of the most interesting queer characters that they have had on their 30+ year run. Now, I want to point out a couple of things before I get started. This show has been on a very long time, and it reflects what happened in the modern world as it was happening. It was actually a little ahead of its time, and even now, I still think while people think The Simpsons have kind of worn out their welcome, they're still ahead of their time. Their shows may not be funny exactly when they come out, but 2 or 3 years down the road, I have found that I'm appreciating those episodes. I'm telling you guys this because there are stereotypical things in The Simpsons that some people may find offensive or damaging. And I can't excuse any of that. A lot of people, businesses, shows have done that. It's not an excuse, but it's the reflection of what was happening in that time. And I can tell you, as time has gone on, they have improved. They have heard criticism, obviously, for changes that they have made recently in the last few years about the Simpsons characters. So while they exist, while those moments exist and they are there, and some people may find them offensive, which is completely valid and relevant, I am saying reflection of what was happening at the time, and they are learning. So I am not necessarily going to hold that against them because they have grown. That out of the way, we are going to talk about some of my favorite moments in queer characters on The Simpsons. Da, 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 da. I wonder if I'll get copyright struck for that. Anywho, so going all the way back to season 2, we're going to talk about Carl. Not this Carl, but this Carl. So, yes, there was another Carl on The Simpsons, and this is in season 2, and I believe it was Simpson and Delilah was the name of the episode. So, this is when Homer gets his long, luxurious hair, and all of a sudden he's getting all sorts of offers. Mr. Burns promotes him, and all of a sudden Homer is like super busy and has so much to do, he needs a personal assistant. So his personal assistant in walks Carl. So Carl is one of the very first openly homosexual characters on The Simpsons, and he was very well received. He was a one-off character, which I would love to see him brought back at any point because he had a lot of heart. He really, really did, and it was something that right away you were like, oh, I like this guy. I'm cheering for him. I'm rooting for him because he believes in Homer so much. And it's not just a job to him. He's not just getting paid to be this person. He really is this heartfelt, amazing person who really, truly cares. And he does eventually kiss Homer on the mouth, which, again, nothing there to me is too shocking, but it was basically like saying, my mother said I'd never kiss a loser. It was kind of a way to bring Homer out of a very bad moment full of self-doubt. So Carl was played by legendary Harry Weinstein. So please don't get this guy confused with the other one, like the bad dude that did all the bad things. Two different people. This guy is like from Hairspray. He's very much a icon, amazing voice. You know his voice. If you hear it, you know it. And he's had many different appearances on animations, television shows, Broadways, musicals, anything that you can think of. He's got a very amazing career, and I am a huge fan. But Carl was kind of my introduction of even understanding what that meant. And I'm like, oh, I like this guy. This is cool. So, yeah, way back then when I was little Lisa watching The Simpsons and seeing Carl, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. There's something different there I may not understand. Coming from the Bible Belt and small town and, stuff like that just wasn't discussed. It was nice to see it even represented on a cartoon. So, going into the next one is Waylon Smithers. So Waylon Smithers has been kind of the gay trope stereotype since the beginning, maybe more towards season 2, not necessarily season 1, but Waylon Smithers is the assistant to Mr. Burns. He has basically his life partner, but they don't have a romance between the two of them, even though clearly Waylon Smithers is in love with Mr. Burns. It has taken years and years and years of these types of dancing around it for them to finally have him come out. And I believe it was season 25. I could be wrong. I'm not like a Simpsons historian, so I don't know. For sure, but it took a very long time for him to get there. And seeing him participate in Pride, helping Mo when they kind of turned Mo's into a gay bar, it was hard watching that growing up because he was the butt of the joke for a long time. Very much stereotypical things, and people would wonder about his sexuality. And at some point, the joke really ran dry, and I just was like, come off it already. Just say he's gay. It's fine. And finally they did. And I don't know what took them so long. Um, I feel like while some of the things were funny, it got old. And I'm really, really glad now that Waylon Smithers is out and proud, and he is a iconic gay character on The Simpsons who is very likable, very lovable. Mr. Burns is his best friend, and he has, I believe he's gotten married in the meantime. I don't remember for sure. Again, not a historian on The Simpsons. I can't believe I'm saying those words because when I was little, my dad was like, this show isn't going to make it. They're not going to understand these references later. It's still on. Just saying. Then we go to John. So John is a friend that the Simpsons meet who is played by legendary, amazing, disgusting John Waters. So clearly this is a character that is basically John Waters. And I love he walks around going zap. And this is when Homer really for the first time is friends with a gay person, and it becomes a issue for him in the beginning, and he wrestles through that. And John is a great guy, a very, very kind person, and he just is very tolerant of Homer's adventures. Like, Homer starts to fear that Bart will be gay, and by the end of this whole situation, even though there's a lot of stereotypes happening, there's a lot of tropes happening, the best thing about this episode is Homer leaning down to Bart and telling him that he loves him no matter what. And that was a moment. And I know he didn't necessarily understand, Bart didn't understand what his dad was saying at that moment until Lisa explained it to him. But that is incredibly powerful at that moment. And that never changed. And John Waters, I'd love to see him again, of course, on The Simpsons, but that was a very iconic role. Even though it was a one-time thing, again, like Carl was incredibly powerful. It was positive gay characters who were just living their lives, who were good people, and they really had a positive effect. So I really have seen a change in Homer, just like with Lisa the vegetarian. Lisa, part of the stipulation on Lisa the vegetarian was she never go back to eating meat. She remains a vegetarian. So that is why Paul McCartney and Linda McCartney agreed to be on the show, is because of that. And to this day, Lisa is still a vegetarian. Seeing the episode of John Waters and that acceptance with John and with Homer, I saw a change in his character very much as a fundamental thing where he started to accept gay people. And he really had a change. And while there was times where, yes, that kind of falls into the joke, overall, there was a huge positive change in Homer Simpson's character when it comes to sexuality after this point. Next, Patty Bouvier. So if you were like me, you're like, when did this happen? I didn't realize that Patty was gay. But then again, why wouldn't she be? But in this episode, it makes it abundantly clear. So in this episode, it is, I can't remember the name of it. Basically, this is before gay marriage was legal, and the Simpsons, along with the entire city of Springfield, decide to legalize gay marriage in Springfield and marry gays so they can get money, obviously, for tourism and things like that. Okay, cool. they were all pretty proud about it and pretty happy about it. The characters in The Simpsons, except, the Lovejoys, the Reverend Lovejoy and Mrs. Lovejoy. But during this whole thing, Patty comes out very, very quickly and basically says, I want Homer to perform a ceremony for me and Veronica. Now, I'm not going to touch the rest of that particular storyline with Veronica, with any sort of tooth comb, anything like that, because I'm still digesting. But the positive thing was that Marge became very accepting of her sister and very accepting of gays. And one of my favorite things about, well, there's two really good things about this episode. Marge and her sister are talking about, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, you were gay. And Homer pops in and is like, it's just like saying you just found out I liked beer. Like, it's that obvious. So good on them for that. Like, it was kind of a good way to address that. And basically it was apparently an elephant in the room for a very, very long time. And I was a little slow like Marge and catching on to that. At the very end, there's also a really good scene here, and I will put the quote in around here. But basically, Marge says that just because you're a lesbian doesn't mean that you're less of a human being. And I love that. I love that. It's very, very cute. So going on to some other characters, Ralph Wiggum. Ralph Wiggum in the Simpsons movie saw Bart skateboarding naked, and he's like, "I like boys now, or I like men now." Um, I I think it's just pretty true with him. I love Ralph. He's one of my absolute favorite characters. I know there was a whole thing about Ralph the President years ago, and that probably would have been better than what actually happened. So Ralph Wiggum kind of outed himself at the Simpsons movie, and I think they've kind of kept up with that. Um, I know that he's been in love with Lisa, but I don't necessarily think he's, one way or the other. But the fact that he was fine and completely open and didn't bat an eye, he's just like, I like boys now, I like men now, yay! Great. That's how it should be. It's just one of those things that should be that simple. Martin Prince. So Martin Prince is another chum of Bart Simpson's and Millhouse, and he is himself. In this same episode of the gay marriages, uh, I think it's Nelson. Nelson is trying to bully him and say, "Hey, I got your gay marriage first person right here," to Martin Prince, and Martin's like, "I don't even know what I am yet." That's fair. That's great. Even though he seems to have some tendencies of maybe being gay, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because the fact is he is saying himself he doesn't know, he's questioning, and that is perfectly fine, and that is perfectly valid. And maybe he is queer, maybe he's not, but the fact, and I think he's more asexual, because at some point he's married to a robot in one of the many flash forward future episodes of The Simpsons. But I just think it's perfectly fine, and that needs to be out there, that I don't know, and that's okay, and that's important, and that's fine. Carl and Lenny. So, while there is no official stance, you cannot tell me that these two are not completely in love with each other. And while it may be platonic, when Lenny was dying, he saw angels that were nothing but Carl. And when Lenny was looking around and seeing things that just reminded him of Carl, and Lenny's the same way to him. They may just have a really good relationship as friends, but it's always kind of gone off into that territory of what if. And it's a possibility. I don't know. But the thing is, it's quite a relationship, and it's something that I enjoy, even if it's just a friendship. But I do want to recognize that there is some queerness there, and very much questioning of will they, won't they? And I think if Carl and Lenny just happen to get together, or you find out they've been together this whole time, nobody is going to bat an eye because they're Carl and Lenny. They should be together. They should be this thing. And I just think it's a beautiful relationship. Homer Simpson. So Homer has definitely had his ups and downs as one of the most homophobic to one of the most accepting characters in The Simpsons. And he has had several same sex kisses. Again, does not make you queer or anything like that to have any sort of, you know, you don't, because you have an instance or whatever the case may be, it doesn't mean that you are gay, whatever. But the thing is, he questioned when he was living with his gay roommates and he got kissed if that wasn't the best kiss he ever had in his life. That tells me something. It tells me just in the very fact of where Homer started to where he is now. He is so much better as a character, as a person, as far as accepting LGBTQIA plus people. It's not really a question anymore. And you don't necessarily have to use Homer as the bumbling idiot that doesn't get it. Like it said in the episode where everybody in Springfield was performing gay marriages. He was completely fine with his sister-in-law being gay, didn't bat an eye. In fact, he knew about it before Marge did. That is a huge growth in a character. Bart Simpson. So Bart has had a lot of questions throughout the ages, and I think that's just an important thing to bring up. The fact that it doesn't matter, again, one way or the other, if he is gay or straight or bi or whatever, the fact is you have seen him questioning and you have seen him being interested in both sexes. And I think that's incredibly important and something that, Bart is this very boy, all male character, mischievous, all of the above. And to have him kind of seeing the beauty in both male and female is fine and it is normal, and that is something that needs to be normalized for especially younger people, that it's okay, again, like Martin Prince, to question and not necessarily know, but be kind of open to it. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think normalizing things like that, normalizing that it is okay to kind of look around and explore and see what is out there in the world and not be confined by gender, is a huge deal. And making something like this so normal, especially with the children characters. I'm also going to throw Milhouse in there a bit. That it's something that needs to be seen. It needs to be normalized. And I'm really glad that they are keeping up with, especially the children, and making this part of their lives and exploration very open and something that is not shamed. Very important. So good job on there, Simpsons. Edna Krabappel. Edna Krabappel is oh, God bless her. She, the former teacher of Bart Simpson. Tragically, the voice actress passed away several years ago, and that loss has been felt for a very long time. So Edna Krabappel, Mrs. Krabappel, Edna, has definitely had her fair share of boyfriends, but she's also had her share of girlfriends, and that has been pointed out in several episodes of The Simpsons. And the fact that this is one of the authority figures for the Simpson children, even Lisa Simpson, that is something that is incredibly important to see, that type of representation of somebody that is in their lives daily, somebody that has that much influence over them, a teacher of theirs who is very much bi or very open or whatever you want to call it. But I applaud that also for having a very strong authoritative figure in their lives and it being completely normal. The last person I'm going to talk about is Lisa Simpson. So, Lisa Simpson has always been a very much a pioneer character. She is the first and maybe only continuous vegetarian, maybe even a vegan now, because she goes back and forth being a vegan and a vegetarian. Um, she's Buddhist. She is playing lip service at church, and there are very clear indications that later on she will not only be bisexual, but she will be polyamorous and have more than one partner. And this is again on some couch gags, but also it's been talked about over and over again in The Simpsons. And I think that's very powerful to see that this very amazing pioneer character who has been groundbreaking since she's started, who's highly intelligent, who is one of the fan favorites, somebody that I obviously really love because her name is Lisa. And I played the saxophone too, but I'm telling you, I've been alive long enough for The Simpsons to be something that I grew up with, but I was alive before it. And I was playing the saxophone before it. Now, granted, I played the saxophone very early in my life, but everybody told me I was copying off of Lisa Simpson, and that is just not the truth. She copied off me. So I just love the fact that even though she's had some odd ups and downs during her tenure as a character, she still is groundbreaking. She's still relevant and she's still highly important, and she's going to continue to be groundbreaking. I mean, even in The Simpsons, she was the female first president, and yes, she had loves that were both men and females, but this is going to be something that I promise is if The Simpsons keep going, they will have her become more bisexual, more queer as time passes. So that is my list. Very small list. I know there's more characters in The Simpsons who are gay and queer, and yes, there are one off characters who are very important. But I think the biggest importance out of this is seeing how the show has progressed. And like I said, individual characters who were a joke or a stereotype have changed, and how amazing it has been to see this type of representation, especially in younger characters. So I find that very amazing and very helpful, and our Simpsons are still relevant. Trust me, they are. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying my Pride series this year. I know I'm a little slow, but thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to. No pressure. Remember, every single day is a gift. Use your time wisely. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.